think it'll work. Have to forgive me for my sore throat. My COPD is getting to me, and my twitches are going crazy. Anyway, I'll see how fast I can get two of these things done. The timing of this is somewhat ironic. Tomorrow, January 17th, 2019, will mark 25 years since a large part of my life passed away, and it changed forever. One sec. You already know what it looks like, so. This concerns the Northridge Quake in Los Angeles. I had originally written this in my book. That's no long story. I had a blog for a while, and now I'm going to go over that real quick and give you a real quick update. So, let's go back 25 years to January 17th, 94. First had the 6.8 quake hit on January 15th or the 16th. There's extremely good chance I'd be dead now because I was plastered drunk. And when this occurred, I was recuperating to a point. January 17th, 94 became the day it changed everything. From here on out, nothing would be the same. Today became the day that I felt that I died. The only thing is, the internal organs just didn't know it. One of the top 3 most hurtful experiences of my life occurred today. It's still one of the top 10 life-changing events of my life. I will explain as I go along. Today was supposed to be a nice, calm, peaceful holiday celebrating the great Dr. Martin Luther King. I was planning to attend one of the gatherings. It would become anything but a day of relaxation in Southern California. Many of the planned gatherings even had to be canceled. My present high on life would be short-lived. Life as I'd known it would suddenly come to an abrupt halt and drastically change. I got to bed around 11:30 on the night of the 16th. As I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking about the events of the past couple of days. In a few hours, that would cease, be all that important. Robbie, my roommate, joined me in bed a couple of hours later. Nobody will get to sleep tonight for the next few days. You might find it shocking, but that's okay. Before I describe the event, I need to portray the bedroom that I was in. I was in Burbank. Inside the large bedroom is a large queen-size bed, a large dresser, and a couch at the end of the bed. Beside the bed, I had 2 tape holders holding 100 cassettes each. On the far side of the bedroom is the closet. On the large dresser on the other side of the room, to the left of us, is a small color TV, one of my first computers, and a few odds and ends. All this would come into play in a few hours. Around 4 a.m. that morning, I'm having a very erotic dream. I decide to relieve the tension on the couch. Normally I would have stayed in bed, but Robbie's hard to wake up after he's taking his medication. I also normally would have had my underwear and short pants on while in bed. This time the pants were on the side of the bed. It's presently around 4:33 a.m. Just about as I'm ready to seek relief, all hell broke loose. Mother Nature is about to shake up everything in my life and in Southern California. Suddenly, a 6.6 to 6.8 magnitude major earthquake occurs. The strength just depends on what report you want to believe. In a flash, everything that I was thinking about before flew out of my mind. I go into instant survival instinct and start scrambling. All I know was that it felt like it was a big one. It felt like the apartment had been picked up twice and thrown back down. I'm wondering if the shaking will ever stop. Soon I would discover that a second major quake, a 5.1, hit a few seconds after the major one. My first thought was, oh no, the wrath of God. I mean, I wasn't exactly living godly at the time. Perhaps that is why I survived it and hadn't hit a few hours earlier. He knows that there's still a chance for me and I can still change and straighten up my life. Four of us, we meet in the apartment. I have two other roommates. There's a small area that connected 3 rooms and a closet. In other words, it's the safest place we could think of real fast. We would have thought that something like this would never happen. You don't always make plans like you should. Be prepared for anything. As Southern California and my life are shaking, I get on my underwear, stepping over the fallen tapes from my bed. I grab my pants, flashlight, and radio. Then I somehow find my shoes. I discovered I wasn't as ready as I thought for an earthquake to happen. I was doing all this real quickly while our ground was still shaking. The other 3 are yelling at me, get the hell over here to the meeting area. Robbie had jumped out of the bed and into the center section in a few seconds. My roommate Charles bites his pride, ends up standing in the nude, and with this muscular body, he had nothing to be ashamed of anyway. He would have made a good model. He had come close to being killed or injured. Charles and Darlene slept in the futon bed in the front room. Behind them were these large windows that were being blocked off with these wooden shutters. In the initial shaker, the shutters fell, barely missing Charles' head. Darlene had yelled at him just in time, or he would have been killed or quite injured. I have now experienced the largest quake and most traumatic act of nature ever. The shake was far worse than many others I endured over the last 12 years. It wasn't the big one. I certainly don't want to go through that one when it does hit. Whether we like it or not, I know the big one is coming and it's overdue. 1 second. If this nightmare had stopped at this point, I might have been able to keep my life basically the same as it was. However, it was far from over. Perhaps the worst was yet to occur. We lost electricity, water, phone, and gas. Robbie and I proceeded to do something without thinking. When the shaking stops, we lit up our cigarettes inside the apartment. If the heater or gas stove had been leaking, we'd been blowing ourselves to bits. You're supposed to check for leaks before lighting fires. Again, it wasn't my time to go. It's pretty hard to think rationally when you're panicking. When the shaking stops, I start with the bedroom and then proceed throughout the rest of the apartment checking the damage. A large closet was across the bedroom. On top of it, I had a box of 24 videos. The box had been thrown halfway across the room, at least 15 feet. Luckily, no one was in the way. My TV and computer had been moved a bit, but it didn't fall down. Only a couple of cracks show up around the window and door frame in the bedroom. Inside the closet, I had hundreds of tapes. I still haven't figured out how they didn't fall. The bathroom was a different story. Everything that was in the cabinet and above the sink has fallen on the floor and the sink, and some was smashed. A few things above the toilet has also fallen. That seemed to be the most dangerous room. No one dared walk around anywhere in the apartment barefooted. Many things that we hung up in the bathroom and the rest of the apartment is come smashing down to the ground. Luckily, only a few things ended up broke. The creaky floors in the apartment got a little squeakier. One place in the kitchen floor has been raised by over an inch. This is making the refrigerator even more off balance. That was fun to fix afterwards. Overall, the inside of the apartment escaped any major damage. We could live with a few new cracks and squeaky floors. Thousands across California was to get it much worse. We were less than 15 miles from the epicenter that ended up being in a hidden fault line in Northridge. I had just experienced one of the most costly natural disasters ever to hit Southern California. Both fires. My first stop after over here. Going outside was a bit scarier. Just outside the front door steps is our neighbor's air conditioner. There's a major crack around it with chunks of cement missing. The stairway up to the second floor has been greatly loosened. From the feel of it, we're wondering if it will hang on. We're living on the first floor. There are numerous new cracks all over the building. The apartment had 10 units. The worst visible damage was in the laundry room at the front of the building. It's the closest point to the street. There are two major cracks all around the room. The water heater looks like it's barely hanging on. If it falls, it could blow up and could kiss this building goodbye. The first thing we did at the furniture store is call the building owner. She quickly comes over and ties the heater up and checks things out. In some weird way, the quake did have a couple of minor good points. It caused a major blackout all over the city. That in itself is eerie, especially in some parts of the city. I felt fairly safe where I was, and I was more worried about Mother Nature than any vandals. At around 5 a.m., we all went outside to take a look, see what's going on. First we gave thanks that we had survived, and then noticed the millions of stars up above, which you could not see because of the city lights. All we could see were the neighbors out there with the flashlights, along with us. For a few brief moments, while looking at the sky, you forget that you're in the middle of a major disaster. Oh God, help! I was never so glad to see a sunrise. Aftershocks were hitting every hour or two. I started counting them when I started. I know as soon as I start to relax, another one would hit. What's funny is during the actual quake, I normally be pretty calm and then panic afterwards. It's amazing I didn't have a heart attack. The real horror hits when I skip the news later on the radio and TV after the electricity is restored. It's the first time I actually saw the emergency transmission on TV. It sure appears that Los Angeles has been a curse this decade. From my perspective, more bad has occurred than good. There had been other earthquakes, the fires, the floods, riots, recession, and now this major disaster. This is sad because I still love being down here. This did end up being the first time for me to experience an emergency broadcast ban on TV. 10 hours after the initial shock, the electricity, gas, water, and phone is finally back on. During the first week, we have to boil all the water and put it through a filter. That is, unless you could afford to buy some water elsewhere, and they jacked up the price. This inconvenience was nothing compared to many others. At least we had the water. It took many tries to get the call to my parents here in Phoenix. I'm surprised they hadn't heard about the event yet. They quickly turned on the news here in Phoenix, and they found out about it. And I later discovered that parts of Phoenix did feel the shock. I had to tell them I had shaken up pretty badly, but it was okay. I'd call them in a few days for an update. At 4:35 the morning of January 17th, something more happened than the quake occurring. In some weird way, I felt that several of my major dreams had just died. It continued to die while I discovered what it would cost to repair all the damage had been done. With every aftershock, I had to make a major decision. Watching a major dream die isn't easy by any means. During the next 12 days, I will count at least 150 aftershocks. Within a few days, I couldn't handle it anymore. What my decision was and why will be answered very soon. After doing my next step, I wish I could have returned to Phoenix for a couple of weeks. Then things would calm down, and I would go back home and continue my job search with my life. That was not to be. A few hours after the initial quake, I got brave enough to take a walk around the neighborhood. I told my roommates where I'd be just in case anything should happen. You forget this is a time before cell phones were invented, so you're on your own. My first stop is by a nearby store where I see major damage. People are inside in a half-lit store and a halfway operating store, trying to get emergency supplies and stock up on food. Many are in a state of panic, as well as I. All around the store and the area are broken and boarded up windows. Numerous buildings have large cracks and bricks are missing. Roof tiles are down all over the ground. Walls and fences are crumbling to the ground. It's absolutely horrible seeing all this. Every place I go, I see some kind of damage. I was really hoping that this had been some kind of nightmare. I'd wake up soon and everything would be okay. It was all too real. During the first couple of days, I'd also had something else to upset me. These capitalists were raising the prices on all the emergency supplies. So I suggest everyone get the supplies before an emergency happens. I need water and batteries and had no choice but to pay the outrageous price hikes. As I was walking around the area, a weird thought suddenly crossed my mind. Not much was very stable in my life at the moment. Now, not even the ground that was under my feet.